right. Good afternoon, team. I hope you're all doing well. My name is Anyanzir Alan, and I'll be taking you through the presentation from students of UMI. They'll be presenting on socially responsible procurement. These are students that are pursuing a postgraduate diploma in project planning and management. But before we proceed, we'll request that Alia takes us through an understanding of what procurement is, so that we can proceed with what social responsible procurement is. Over to you, Alia.
Thank you, Alan. So procurement is described as the purchase of goods and services at the best project competitive prices, delivery dates, and legal terms by the Purchasing and Procurement Center of 2012. We also have procurement defined as the acquisition by purchase, rental, lease, tenancy, franchise, or any other contractual means of any type of works of any combination by the PPDA of 2003. Procurement has been prioritized into three key factors, namely cost, obtaining goods and services at the lowest possible price, quality, ensuring the goods and services meet the required standards, and then time, receiving goods and services within the needed time. So, over to you, Alan, to take us through social procurement.
Thank you, Alia, for taking us through what procurement is. And now, when it comes to socially responsible procurement, we define this as a practice that endeavors to integrate social, ethical, as well as environmental considerations into the procurement processes and the decisions that are done during the procurement process. We also looked at the process involving making purchases or purchasing decisions that prioritize not only financial factors, but also ethical, social, as well as environmental factors. And when it comes to the core aspects of such a socially responsible procurement, we look at it having social aspects which promote fair labor practices, diversity and inclusion in the supply chain. Then we look at the ethical aspects, where we look at them having areas of transparency, anti-corruption, as well as respect for human rights. And finally, the environmental aspects, which make sure that the whole procurement process minimizes the negative impacts on the environment and also is sustainable and eco-friendly. Over to you, Adija.
Thank you, Alan. So following the introduction to socially responsible procurement, I think we would also like to understand the principles guiding socially responsible procurements. And some of these include the following. Ethical sourcing. This basically involves procuring from entities that respect human rights, protect the environment, and also ensure fair labor practices to minimize the negative impacts of procurement activities on people and the planet. We also have fair labor practices. This involves prioritizing vendors who promote decent working conditions, who provide fair wages, and also ensure employee safety across the supply chain. Then we have the environmental sustainability, whereby the procurement focuses on making decisions that minimize harm to the environment and promote the responsible use of resources. This can be implemented by procuring biodegradable, renewable, and also harmless products from suppliers. Then community impacts. This one is the principle emphasizes the importance of supporting local businesses in the community. This helps to empower them and also promote development within the community. Then diversity and inclusion. This principle, it focuses on creating opportunities for diverse suppliers. And then transparency and accountability. This basically focuses on openness about the procurement process, evaluation, and the final decision made. This helps to build trust with investors or shareholders and then enhances commitment. Over to you, Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Adija, for sharing the principles of the socially responsible procurement. I'll be taking you through some of the objectives of the SRP. Objective number 1 is promote human rights and fair working conditions. There is need to see or to ensure that the suppliers respect human rights by providing safe working environment and also provide good or fair wages to their employees. The second objective, we shall look at reducing the environmental impact by ensuring that the suppliers choose products and services that are not, that help in sustaining the environment or maybe are reusable to avoid emissions. Then the third objective is to encourage the local development to prioritize the support of the local suppliers such that it can support the growth of the economy and in the long run, the GDP of the country. And finally, to improve public trust and corporate reputation. This is to demonstrate the organizational commitment to ethics and sustainability, enhancing stakeholder confidence and strengthening the brand image. James will take us through more objectives of the SRP.
Thank you all. To proceed with the objectives, we are looking at risk management and associated with unethical practices such as labor violations and environmental damage. Also, we will look at transparency and accountability required by supply chain to disclose their practices and performance. Also, we look at long-term viability for sustainability by adopting practices that are resilient to changing market demands and regulatory requirements. And finally, we look at compliance with regulations related to practices of labor, environmental impact, and social corporate responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you, James. My name is Nabgonyi Flavia, presenting the benefits of socially responsible procurement. It fosters trust between organizations and communities. For example, MTN Uganda has established strong relationships with local suppliers and communities by prioritizing local sourcing and engaging in community initiatives. The company actively supports local businesses through its procurement processes, ensuring that a significant portion of its goods and services comes from Ugandan suppliers. By adhering to socially responsible procurement practices, organizations can ensure compliance with national regulations regarding local content and sustainability. This reduces the risk of legal issues and helps companies maintain a positive public image. That's all from me. Over to you, Patricia.
Thank you so much, Flavia. So I'm going to talk about some of the examples of socially responsible procurement practices. The first one being auditing labor practices. Here we look at how UNRWA used to require contractors like construction companies to prove that they are not using child labor or they are not exploiting workers. They performed social audits, investigations, inspections to check the working conditions of laborers. And then also we have fair trade sourcing, where we have UCDA, the Coffee Development Authority, working with farmers, farmer groups and cooperatives, only those that are fair trade certified and follow the fair trade practices like paying fair wages, ensuring safe working conditions, and not using child labor. We also have eco-friendly procurement as another example, where we have agencies like NEMA advising and regulating institutions like schools and hospitals to avoid harmful materials like the plastic bags And instead, they should use, they're encouraged to use environmentally friendly products like the biodegradable packaging or the paper bags. Thank you. Over to our next presenter.
Thank you so much, Patricia. This is Maureen. I'll be proceeding with the challenges that have while implementing the SRPs. Some of them are included as the higher short-term costs involved. It's very expensive at the beginning when you're trying to implement RSPs. And then we also have limited supply availability. We further proceed to the lack of awareness and training. Various organizations have staff that are not familiar with the SRP principles. They would rather use the traditional methods of procurement. So it makes it hard for this method to be adapted. Then we have a difficulty in measuring these social impacts. With prices, if you're doing things like prices, quality, you can easily measure them compared to social environmental impacts. Those are hard to measure. Then finally, we have resistance to change. However much we are trying to promote these SRPs, very many organizations are so into the traditional procurement practices that it's so hard for them to shift their strategies to start using this. And it becomes a challenge to adapt these methods. I'd like to stop here. Thank you so much. Over to you, Benjamin.
Thank you very much. We continue with the strategies for effective SRP. The first one we shall have to do is develop clear policies and guidelines, establish written SRP policies that define expectations for ethical sourcing, labor practices, environmental sustainability, and supplier conduct, and also to integrate SRP criteria into procurement manuals and tender documents. The second one, we can train procurement and project staff, conduct regular training sessions for capacity building in sustainable procurement practices, also equip our staff with tools to assess suppliers based on social and environmental performance. The third one, engage stakeholders and communities. We have to involve local communities, civil society, and suppliers in shaping SRP strategies. This can be done by hosting community forums or supplier roundtables to align expectations and build partnerships. The fourth, we can create ethical supplier databases, maintain a vetted list of suppliers who meet the SRP standards. We also prefer pre-qualified vendors with certificates in labor rights, environmental standards, or diversity. Our final one, we can monitor, evaluate, and report progress, set indicators to track the social and environmental impact of procurement activities, publish annual procurement sustainability reports to ensure transparency and accountability. Thank you very much. Over to Innocent.
Okay, thank you, Benjamin, and all previous discussants. I'm here to wind up this topic we have been discussing about, which is about socially responsible procurement, by saying that this is more than a trend, but it is a commitment to ethical, inclusive, and sustainable practices, which is important for promoting sustainability and enhancing organizational reputation. Therefore, SRP should be embraced by all public, private, and civil society organizations. By integrating SRP, social and environmental considerations into procurement decisions, businesses can not only meet consumer expectations, but also contribute positively to society and the environment. SRP helps organizations become agents of positive social, economic, and environmental change. To wind up with, procurement is not just about what we buy, but it is also about what we stand for. Therefore, we need to commit to making every procurement decision a step towards a fairer, greener, and more inclusive world. I thank you all.